The chance to shape your future is here. Learn and connect with exciting new opportunities. Are you ready for the next step?
Good morning, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for this morning's roundtable discussion on adopting Industry 4 and how manufacturers are getting through the pandemic. My name's Lisa Lucas and I'm part of the MADE Cymru team based at University of Wales Trinity St David, and I'm really fortunate to be joined today by some companies and colleagues that we're fortunate enough to work with. So before we go into the discussion, it'd be great if I could introduce everyone to you. So I'm going to go around my screen. Natalie, can I come to you first?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I'm Natalie and I work for Reeco Automation Solutions, and we are based in Mid Wales, and we provide customers with collaborative robot solutions, ranging from screw fixing to bolt fixing, right through to many other solutions.
Thanks, Natalie. Graham, can I come to you next?
Hi, good morning, everybody. So yeah, my name is Graham Howe. I'm the head of the MADE programme here at the University of Wales Trinity St David. Really delivering, taking what we do, that industrial-led curriculums that we have at the university, and bringing them to an online Pan Wales programme, helping manufacturing companies engage with innovation and Industry 4 technologies.
Thanks, Graham. And Lynn?
Hi, my name is Lynn Davies. I'm a director of Probe RTS. Probe in the main help manufacturing sectors with things like operational excellence and software to drive productivity. We've been doing this since 2006, so we are investing heavily in digitalization, and it'll be nice to see how this forum discusses that today.
Brilliant, thanks Lynn. Alison?
Hi, good morning. I'm Alison Orrells. I'm the CEO, Managing Director of the Safety Letterbox Company. We're a manufacturer of mailboxes and parcel boxes, been manufacturing in Neath for 35 years. We're part of the Rents Group with factories in Poland, Germany and France.
Brilliant, thank you, Alison. And David?
Yeah, hi, I'm David Morgan. I'm the Industry and Solutions go-to-market lead for manufacturing at Avanade. Avanade are a global IT services company. We're 20% owned by Microsoft and 80% owned by Accenture. We have about 40,000 people living and breathing, delivering digital transformation solutions, and I have a real focus on manufacturing. I'm pleased to say that I'm working with Graham and the University of Wales Trinity St David's on some applied innovation projects using Industry 4.0 technologies.
Brilliant, thank you, David. And finally, Oliver, can I come to you just to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Oliver Conger. I'm the MD and owner of Rototherm Group, and the business is 170 years old, manufacturing precision sensors for measuring, pressure, temperature, and level. And also, launched a new business about 12 months ago, which is manufacturing PPE on quite a large scale.
Brilliant, thank you, Oliver. So obviously, before we start getting into the discussion, it's just a fantastic opportunity to have you all together and, to be able to share your kind of views and experiences. So anyone listening in, I strongly encourage you, if you've got any questions or comments or anything that you would like to put to the panel, if you could use the virtual platform, the Q&A section there, feed them through to us and we'd be happy to respond to those as they come through. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that the pandemic has probably dominated our lives in more ways than one of the past year. Sadly, we've seen some businesses forced to close. On the other end of the spectrum, we've seen some, see significant growth and everything in between, I guess. But I think wherever you are on that spectrum, I think that you will have been facing some significant challenges over the past few months, and I'm really keen to sort of get a bit of experience, share the experiences that you guys have had in terms of what challenges you've faced over the past few months. Alison, you happy for me to come to you first on that one?
Yeah, great. Okay, so obviously going into it was a first for everybody, but I think that, you know, we set up really well, really early on. And by the end of March, we had everything in place in terms of the offices and the factory to be able to be COVID secure as best as we could be, really. You know, temperature checking, split shifts, home working. It's the first time we'd ever looked at home working. So, you know, just installing Teams was new for us back then. PPE, you know, everything you can think of, we threw at it just to be sure that, you know, everybody was kept as safe as they possibly could be, and we could continue with the business operation. So the first phase was all about business survival, of course, and, you know, what was it going to look like? Were we actually going to even have our customers? We sell predominantly into construction. So for the first 3 weeks, manufacturing and construction, you know, everything was paused, wasn't it, whilst we sort of worked out what was going to happen next. But it was quite apparent that there was a way through it. And of course, we had to find that way. And one of the trickiest issues, I suppose, was all about people. You know, how are they going to be able to do their job effectively, communicate really well, and communicate with the customer? So, you know, we invested a lot in IT very, very quickly. And then by the summer, we found that we were in the groove a bit and we understood what it was all about. And then we started pushing on with our R&D. So we really started to invest in new products, looking at really the sort of mentality of, look, reputations are forged in a crisis. So how do we look externally? How do we portray that we're manufacturers to our customers? How do we set ourselves apart as British manufacturers? And of course, we felt that it was important to keep innovating, to keep investing in that side of the business, to set us apart so that when we came out, we would come out stronger. So it highlighted a lack of resource in certain areas. We redeployed some people. We've had to move people around. And certainly we've learned a lot from the process. We're in a strong place. We've got a great growth plan. Obviously, it's intense working in this current setup because 70% of my office are working from home. But we've definitely gone through that process, and now it's all about business future-proofing and being agile and collaborations and being adaptable.
Thank you, Alison. Yeah, I think, you know, we've had a lot of feedback from lots of companies about the, you know, the initial phases and you know, just staff not being able to be on site. And obviously for organizations like yourself, where they need to be, you know, on the shop floor, so to speak, that's obviously a huge challenge. Natalie, can I come to you? Would you be happy to comment on that?
Yeah, of course, Lisa. Yeah, no problem. So back in April, when the country went into lockdown, myself and the director, Llewellyn, we were extremely nervous. We had no idea what was going to happen next. It was, you know, something that nobody had ever been through before, which I can appreciate. Many companies are in the exact same situation. We deal a lot with the automotive industry, and customers were just postponing projects, pushing things back. They, you know, we didn't really know what was going to happen next. Getting supplies were really difficult because suppliers were closed. So we made the decision to send most of our workforce home, actually, because 90% of them are in the factory. So we sent most of them home. We furloughed them for a short time whilst we made changes into the factory. We did have a small skeleton crew in, but that wasn't for very long. And then yeah, we just carried on doing what we were doing with the skeleton crew, made the changes to the factory, and you know, carried on with the projects that were still going ahead. But at the same time, you know, we were still, much like Alison, looking at our growth plan to see how we could continue as a business from the other side of this. And so we decided to take on more apprentices, upskill some of the staff as well. And some of the staff that had to work from home with childcare issues, We made sure that there was laptops available to them so that they could still continue to work. And eventually we had everybody back in May, June time, and production just continued on from there, really.
Yeah, I think that's raised a really interesting point there, actually. And again, one of the things that we're constantly hearing now is that even when companies have been able to adapt or put measures in place that enables them to perhaps move forward, sometimes the supply chain is, or getting what you need to be able to do that has proven to be difficult as well. Oliver, have you experienced any of that sort of challenges when it comes to supply chain and staffing?
Yeah, we just slowly started. We stayed open throughout. That was a decision we took. I think Alison mentioned, it was survival mode. I remember talking in front of the staff early March, and we sort of said, look, we have two priorities now, only two single priorities. One is keep everyone safe, and two, keep everybody in a job. And that literally was it. And so we said we didn't want to close. Personally, as the owner of the business, I didn't know whether we'd open again. It was that sort of worry at the time. Nobody had been through this. Everyone was terrified. So we sort of went into a battle mode. But you slowly started to see the supply chain dry up. So we really started to see some struggles of getting parts and other things in towards the second half of April. And again, we just sort of started to adapt and bring some of the stuff in-house. So we we bought some paint guns and put in our own paint booth. We started doing some of the additional machining of parts that we wouldn't machine. We did additional testing. And we started having to train people because obviously we had nobody who could do this. We just sort of say, well, it literally was as crude as, let's get YouTube up and work out how to do some of these things. But that's what we had to do. We had no choice there. And I think it sort of brought the whole staff closer together because we really were in, like everyone, it was just survival mode, right? How do we get through this? How do we do it? And I think the cultural side of, a business really shines through, during these sort of, extreme times that we're in. And I think that's where leadership is very important. We had a lot of very, very worried people on site. So I felt my role was spending a lot of time communicating with staff, making the changes. Some of them, everyone at that time was just sort of saying, "Oh, there's this furlough scheme. We all want to be on it." No, I don't think anyone knew what furlough was. Come April. So I think that what I felt, a lot of work, communicating. I've certainly taken that through. And I think the speed of decision making was also key. So, whereas before, you might take a month to make a decision on something, you needed to make decision now and immediately. And I think that's something I'm sort of trying to carry through as a learning point is actually, we can make much faster decisions. Some stuff, take the time and think about it. But other things, you can make immediate decisions. And I think that's certainly something, I found was very valuable during the last 12 months.
Brilliant, thank you, Oliver. Lynn, obviously part of what you do is to help people sort of understand and improve their processes and for productivity, which I can imagine is probably on everybody's radar more now than ever. How have you found sort of dealing with customers? Has it been more difficult? Have you had more people coming to you? How have you found it?
It's been a tale of two businesses really, because as I said earlier, we support businesses with operational excellence to look at improvement to bottom line, and we also develop software as productivity drivers to go into those companies. So for the last year, really, it feels like a year anyway. The actual going in and working with people, really, that door closed. That closed very quickly because of the restrictions of going into places. And I think that that's you know, I've talked to varying consultants over the country, and they're all feeling that. They're all feeling that. You know, as Oliver said earlier, you look from within. You see what you can do from within your business, and the outside world. Really, you want to keep out as much as possible while everything's put in place, and you want to keep your own facility clean. So we also took a step back and just looked at the business really in about last April. We were hoping that this would go on for 6 months. It's gone on for nearly a year, and it looks like a few more months down the line. So cash flow was key. You know, and that would affect everyone really. Is that you really need to look after your cash at that point in time. We haven't lost any staff, and we've had to again, as you guys have just said, Alison and Oliver, you know, you've had to retrain staff to do different things to what they were doing before, because we only had work in those areas. So we've been very agile in that respect, but it also gave us an opportunity, and I'm sure you guys are taking the opportunity to do something different and to go on a different path with the business. And the software side of things has been a saving grace for us. It's been that sort of lighthouse, you know, that's been there for us, because people like yourselves and like us all are working from. I'm in the office today, but a lot of people are working from home. And if you've got 70% of your people working from home, how do you control your business? So that's been the challenge for us in how we help our customers really with the software, and how we sell the software to companies really that can do it from the house rather than doing it in work. I'm a big advocate of doing it from work and do it from where you add the value. But times have changed, you know, and you have to take a backward step and look at how do we manage differently. And it's been a huge learning curve for us and our clients. And luckily for us, our software has sat in that niche where you know, people can have line of sight of what's going on and up to date information now, which they wouldn't have done before. You know, they would have still kept on those sort of Excel paths where it takes you days and hours to put information together. Our platform in terms of real-time data and information, you know, allows you really to manage from afar. Although I don't advocate that, but in these times it's a necessity. So it's been really challenging. I was going to say interesting, but it's been really challenging in one respect that, you know, well, some of your main income stream is now closed off to you, but in another respect, it's given us the impetus that we needed to do something different with the business, and I think that's been really interesting over the last sort of 6 months, and yeah, and that's the way we're going to take the business forward, going forward, because the world's changed, unfortunately or fortunately.
It most definitely has. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting there you saying about, you know, customers sort of being at home now, and our clients or, you know, businesses you're working with working from home now. So using that technology is obviously being used in a very different way. If I can come to you next, David, I guess you're probably experiencing some of that as well, in that obviously some of the solutions and technologies that you would normally be recommending are now going to be having to be used in a very different way, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to hear everyone on the call. You know, obviously I'm providing, well, Avanade's providing solutions or technology solutions to the challenges that are out there, and manufacturers. It's really interesting from seeing the manufacturer perspective, because what we're seeing as an organization is that manufacturers are used to challenges, you know, economic headwinds, aging workforces, legacy systems that are outdated. But COVID-19 has really accelerated, and it's really interesting to see all the stories here, hear all the stories here, because it is being able to adapt to this challenge that's accelerating the needs to really change and really deliver things a little bit differently. And from our perspective, we're seeing almost three key areas where you have the connected workplace and connected worker kind of environment, or solutions for that particular challenge area where you have to provide safety for your workers. They have to operate in different ways, and they have to be available and even produce things, not just collaborate, but actually be part of the production engine. To then go into the second area, which is the resilient operations, being adaptable, making sure your supply chain is there, making sure you're working and adapting to different models of working. So maybe working with manufacturers or suppliers that you would never think about working with in the past. Just being that, having that adaptability and having those resilient operations to do that. And then the third area we're seeing is that the ability to actually innovate and drive this agile production, and being able to embrace the next challenge and not fear it. With really innovative solutions where technology is really helping there. And there's some really great examples of doing that. And one of the ones that we were connected with, very much aligned to COVID-19, was the UK ventilator challenge, where UK government put out a challenge out into the marketplace for manufacturers to come and help produce ventilators to address the need of what COVID-19 was doing to the population. So we were part of that group with Microsoft to help a consortium of manufacturers really change the way they're working. It was manufacturers from global manufacturers from all over, different industries, sub-industries within the manufacturing sector. And we ended up helping them with really different technologies, with collaboration tools, with new production tools, with new data and AI analytical tools to give you that thing. So they all worked better to have an end result of enabling over 20 years of ventilators being produced in 12 weeks. It was a real success story, but it's just an example of how those areas have come together, or those challenge areas have come together, and technologies helped resolve them. And so we're really proud of that. But it's really interesting at that kind of scale to see how it's come down to everyone on the call today around the challenges that they're facing, and definitely technology is supporting solutions in the areas.
Yeah, and I'd like to pick up on that point actually, because I think, certainly from the MADE Cymru sort of, opportunity project and offers that we have, the program that sort of has been put together was always intended to be delivered online. And, that was obviously done, before COVID. We even knew COVID was ahead of us. But I think even though perhaps people are now more comfortable with this sort of environment and this interaction, I think it's still been challenging for us, Graham, hasn't it, in terms of, getting that engagement in the first place to understand how we could perhaps support.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when we designed the program 2.5 years ago, it was all intended to be online. Teams, we saw the technology, we saw the opportunities, but then almost convincing and getting understanding within the manufacturing industry pan Wales was a real challenge for that, in all fairness. But I think now so many people are so much more comfortable with clicking on a web link, and suddenly you're in a Teams meeting. And I think picking up something that Oliver said, and in terms of the time for decision making, suddenly you can have a meeting. I think there was one case where we were talking to 3 different companies about collaborating on a project. We discussed at 9 o'clock via email, I think, having a collaborative meeting. By 1 o'clock, we were having the meeting. And I think if it'd been before COVID, we would spent 3 weeks discussing where we're going to have the meeting, when we're going to have the meeting, and all that good stuff. So but equally then, I guess for us lecturing and teaching online, that's okay, that's fine. It's still there's elements of face-to-face stuff that we still need. And I think the challenge for us has been, and again, there's a challenge and there's an opportunity. We did a line walk the other day with a company we're doing some work with. And before COVID, I think we would have probably gone there. We would probably seen either the morning shift or the afternoon shift. But by doing it through FaceTime and actually walking the line with some and talking with some of the operators, we were able to do both shifts. So I think 8 o'clock one evening, myself and a colleague, we were talking to the shift and understanding the issues. By just doing that on digitally meant that we got a very different picture between the 2 shifts, and we understood some key differences that we probably wouldn't have picked up had we been face to face. But still, there's that balance, I think, to be had of that face-to-face contact as well. But yeah, there's technologies out there that can really, really help us. And I absolutely picking up on the ventilator challenge, how I think all COVID has really done is accelerated what was already in track pre-COVID. And just, I think Microsoft mentioned they had seen 2 years of development of Teams happen in about 2 months. And that's the speed of things that are happening at the moment using these online platforms for such like.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, even on a personal level, I mean, you know, I'm certainly engaging with technology through work, with things like this, engagement, homeschooling, you know, even social things with family and friends. It's kind of become part of our lives now. I don't think that's ever going to go away, but I think there's the balance, isn't it, between the kind of personal and relationship side, and then what we can use technology to do to sort of enhance that. Obviously,
Lisa,
there's things that we, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to pick on that up on that one, because obviously we do a lot of work with the market analysts out there to predict what's going on in the future, and we do a lot of work with Gartner and Forrester, and Gartner's done some research recently around the whole remote working kind of topic, and they predict by 2024 that, you know, over 50% of manufacturers will be working and doing work remotely. You know, so that basically means that your supply chain, everyone in the manufacturing process, all those different people in the supply chain will have to adapt to this kind of new hybrid way of working. It's amazing stats. You know, like, and as Graham was saying, COVID has really accelerated something that was going to happen, but really, you know, now down into almost like a 12-month period where everyone needs to really adapt and then get onto this flow of working in a different way, not just collaborating in Teams calls or just the office kind of work, but actually producing things along the supply chain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, we've sort of tried to do things like virtual tours and things like that we can, you know, perhaps try and close the gaps and bring these things together. But I think there's obviously, I think Oliver picked up on as well, there's kind of cultural aspects associated with this as well, I think. And I think that's probably been accelerated as well. One of the things I've sort of spoken to Natalie about quite recently is the misconceptions and cultural barriers that sometimes you come up against, Natalie, with the ideas that technology can replace jobs, and, you know, people are going to be out of work if we can find a technology solution for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you see that changing? Is it happening, or can you see it happening?
Yeah, I think, I mean, for us, we found that customers are more accepting of technology within the workplace. You know, many companies already have automation as part of their business anyway, and there is new technology being developed every day, which can enhance the business's production. So, you know, our solutions, we do get a lot of negativity around it because they do feel like they're there to replace an operator, when actually the operator 9 times out of 10 is highly skilled. So it means that they can go on and do something else within the workplace and use their skills and their knowledge. You know, the cobot could potentially do the mundane job that, you know, they had been doing. But I mean, cobots especially, or collaborative robots, they can be used for social distancing on the factory floors, for example, you know, and many of our customers have, you know, found that their workforce has increased due to the use of technology, improving cycle time, efficiency, repeatability, you know, and it all has a positive effect on the factory. So, I mean, we do get a lot of negativity around it, but for us, many of our customers, they come back to us again and again because we provide them with solutions that helps them, you know, and their companies grow. And they really don't, when the inquiry comes through to us, they do not say to us, you know, we're looking to replace operators. That's, you know, that's not the case at all. They just want to use the skills from the humans, if you like, and allow them to help the company grow, and cobots for other things.
Lynn, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, I suppose the question really, and that is that the biggest challenge or opportunity, as I see it, isn't for the value adding process where you have to have your people in to make the parts unless you can automate exactly, but it's the whole management structure. How do you manage the value adding process? Because lots of companies are now trying to manage from afar. So that sort of 2024 that David was talking about, I see it as more as the as the management levels, which is going to be more affected and need to use the technology more than the guys actually doing the stuff on the shop floor. And that's why we are on Zoom, and that's why everybody else. I'm sitting in Sony Technology Center, and 70% of their staff are off, but the shop floor is still running. So it's how can you adapt the technologies really to be able to control and enhance that, and in there, I suppose what's going to happen eventually is that we're going to get a lot more autonomous people on the shop floor actually running their processes themselves. So yeah, I'd like to see how the group feel about that, and what are some of the comments that come back from the manufacturers.
Yeah, Alison, can I bring you in there? Because obviously, some of what you do is quite bespoke in many ways, depending on the clients that you're working with. I know in recent discussions you said that during this period you had to take on more premises actually. So rather than kind of sending everybody home, you've had to grow almost in terms of physical space. So how are you finding that balance?
Yeah, well, in terms of the manufacturing side of the business, the actual physical creation of the product, in order to ensure the continuity, we had to split the shifts, we had to take on more space to ensure that everyone was still working and producing the product. But of course, what it does is it highlights some areas that could be improved, and the challenge that we face as an SME with the fact that everything has to be done with social distancing right now is how do we make that step where you identify that there could be improvements right now with the constraints associated with COVID. So that is a real challenge. Whilst you can see the benefits and you can actually, sort of imagine what it would look like, that journey going from where we are right now to that with the restrictions that we have are very, very tricky, the actual reality of it. So we are looking at it baby steps, if you like. There's certain areas that we're looking at in terms of the office and the efficiency as far as that's concerned, the IT side and how we communicate our KPIs, our measures through the business. We're quite clear, we're quite on it, but in terms of productivity, improving output, there's so many external factors right now associated with, people isolating, people that have to be home with their kids, people who are, whatever it is, there's so many elements. So every day you're faced with another challenge that you can see the massive benefits that would come from additional automation. And certainly for us, as we look to expand into our new factory, which is definitely on our radar this year. And Graham and I have been talking about, how we plan the layout of that and the sort of augmented reality, virtual reality sort of planning of the efficiency. That's essential for us now to be able to do that using technology that perhaps we wouldn't have thought of before. So it will enable us to do it, but it is that shift change.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because again, the work that we were sort of looking into and the research and the projects that we were doing around that sort of, recreating the digital twin of a manufacturing facility and to be able to sort of forecast all these future scenarios and do some analysis and things was again pre-COVID, but actually, it really has kind of highlighted that. And I think, Oliver, we were chatting recently as well, and you saying that obviously you've had to invest in some equipment and things recently, and had you had that opportunity to perhaps do this beforehand, it would have been really beneficial to you.
Yeah, I think, it's I think with the technology, I think there's two different. There's the SME level, like with resonate a lot with what Alison says, and then I guess sort of the big company. Before I acquired Rototherm, I was working for a huge Japanese conglomerate, and I don't know. I mean, spending, going off and putting however many noughts on a budget proposal, you sort of just shove it in and you don't really think of it. But when it's when that money isn't, you really got to make the most of it. I think from an SME level, and let's not forget that probably drives 80% or 85% of all companies, certainly in Wales. You really want to get it right, and there's so much technology available. It's like, well, I always have people come, oh, there's this new app, and then we can do this on the shop floor and do this. But you choose it, and then a month later, something else is the next best thing. So we've really, if we go into something, we try and really understand the process, what the benefit's going to be, down to the operator level, and then we've all got to go in. So if we're going to choose something, then we're all in, and it's not just this cell has it, and then the other cell has something else, and then the other way is something else. So it might take a bit more time, but I think we've chosen either to improve quality first, because quality is so key. Without quality, you don't have the customer trust, and if you don't have the customer trust, you've got nothing. So we always go with quality, and Brits are the best at quality in the world, in my opinion, from manufacturing. And then also for that capacity. So I think some people think, oh, I can make loads more, let's choose a technology there. But I think it's just trying to get the balance in. So we've done quite a number of investments in the last 6 to 9 months. One, because actually there's been some really good prices out there on capital equipment. So we're taking the opportunity there, and so I guess, and some risk to not have the money in the bank. But also, debt is quite cheap at the moment, so don't forget that, and building for that future, when things open up. So we've invested in quite a lot of capital equipment that's going to drive up our quality significantly, and also improve our our flexibility. So it's really just choosing the right ones, and I think we've had some great help from yourself, Lisa, and the team in being able to choose the right things and what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And I think that's where organizations like yourself with MADE is there to help companies, and I think people just forget about that. They sort of say, well, I'll just have a quick look on Google, but actually go and chat with the experts, get them, because I don't know it. So I always love just going, who's the expert at this, because I don't know it. So get their opinion and then make a decision. I think that's where not enough companies are using the resources around, personally.
I'd love to bring you in there, Graham, for obvious reasons. I think you've always been a very, very strong advocate, and a kind of based the MADE program in particular, and prior to that, your programs within the School of Engineering around process first, technology second, in your opinion.
Yeah, definitely around mindset. And then I think as well, picking on something Oliver said there about, I think as a university, when I first came here from industry, I sat down and thought about the whole process of how a student writes an assignment. So I learned something, the student would write an assignment, they hopefully learned something from writing it, I learned something from reading it and marking it, and my colleague probably would as well, but we're the only 3 people in the world that's benefited from that fairly substantial work in most cases. So how do we share that? And so we instigate things like sharing with the cohort. So that each student would do a presentation on a piece of work they do. So the whole cohort benefits from the work that one student does. So suddenly in a cohort of 30, you've got 30 minds all thinking about a particular issue or whatever, rather than just one. And I think that's really the basis of MADE, because I think so many times in manufacturing, if one company would have solved a particular problem that another company's already got, and that problem's been solved somewhere else before, in a different guise, in a different product, in a different application, in a different sector, but it has been solved somewhere before. So rather than reinventing the wheel, why don't we share that knowledge in the group? And I think then also as the students go through the MADE program and they come out the other end of it, they're in a much better place in terms of having that professional network. They're thinking, well, actually, that company, that medical products company, you might be an automotive company, that medical, they had something interesting about a particular test method. you can pick up the phone to them and see how they did it and see what I remember reading the fly cover of a book written by an investment casting company, and it was a phenomenal book. And in the front, the author just said, I've made so many mistakes in my life. You've not got time to make all the mistakes you're going to make, plus the ones I've already made. So I might as well shortcut it and basically show you all the mistakes I've made, so you don't make the same ones. And I thought that was a really, really powerful thing to share and do. It moves us all forward together. And I think the power of MADE, that network, is really, really quite special. And I think that's really important. And I think is that use of appropriate technology as well. And I think what we're trying to do on the MADE program, it's got a shelf life, 4 or 5 years when you design a curriculum and design a university program. And I'm pretty sure the technologies we start on year 1 are going to be different to the ones we have at year 5. They're going to be moving forward. They're moving forward. And this was before COVID, they were moving forward pretty quickly. They're even moving forward even more rapidly now. But the skills required, like Oliver just picked up there, really is around how do we understand that technology and how do we understand where it's going to make an economic impact for us. Those skills are the same, whether it's a piece of virtual reality or it's a piece of augmented reality or something else that we don't yet know about coming in 5 years down the track. Those skills of assimilation and understanding and deployment are the same. So it's about developing those skills to apply the appropriate technology.
Thanks, Graham. I think actually that kind of, I suppose, brings me to my next kind of question, really, in and around skills, because lots of people will have unfortunately been made redundant, or businesses have closed. But we're just saying now about staff being furloughed. How do we see this sort of skills gaps, jobs markets going forward? Does this new way of working open that up for us? Are we likely to attract a wider pool of people, or is it going to be more challenging? Are we going to have more people available to us? Natalie, can I come to you? Obviously, geographically, you're perhaps in an area where it's not obvious to come to that area for perhaps a technology role as high end as what you can offer.
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. I know we've spoken about this a couple of times, haven't we? Before the pandemic, I was actually working with our local colleges and the schools to look at getting the engineering courses restructured, purely for the simple fact that engineering is so broad and there's so many companies on our industrial estate that are struggling with the, with hiring people, because we'll find that people will do their course, they'll go to college, and then they may go to university and they won't come back to the local area because they don't know the opportunities that are available to them, back in their hometown. And we are in rural mid Wales, and we do struggle, and we have had to take people from different countries, within the UK and outside of the UK as well. So it is definitely something that we will continue to struggle with unless we can kind of put Wales back on the map, for engineering, technology, manufacturing, all those different things. And I don't think it's something that we will ever get hold of until we start to work with the education system and show them what we do and what it is that we need. And I do think that will help in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the type of focus of your company, and I suppose exactly the same as you, Lynn, and David especially, I think you can almost sort of help change the perception a little bit of jobs in manufacturing. I think one of the challenges to recruit, Graham's nodding away there, one of the challenges you've always had recruiting young people onto manufacturing programs is that wrongly it's traditionally looked at as low paid labor, dirty environments, which is certainly not always the case. I mean, David, is that something that you are conscious of as a company?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think it aligns to the topic before as well about technology replacing jobs or stealing jobs. I think it's going to augment jobs and make the manufacturing sector, I'd say, hopefully much more attractive in the future, because it has suffered in the past. It has been you have tend to have an aging population within the manufacturing sector. It hasn't been viewed as the best place to go, as you mentioned, from Generation Z. They're looking for better environments, more sustainable environments. It's more attractive for them to go and work in a manufacturer versus a really smart IT company, maybe like Google, was already seeing a really cool place to work, and manufacturing maybe, probably incorrectly in some cases, viewed as a not attractive place to work. And it is a very hot topic, because we've done some work with Microsoft and in North America. In I think by 2024, there's going to be 2 million manufacturing or digitally skilled. There's a lack of digital skills in manufacturing of up to about 2 million people. So this, and that's just North America alone. And I know that in Davos at the moment, they're talking about the lack of digital skills out there, and it's going to be an opportunity in the future to get people the right skills, because there will be employment opportunities with technology at the heart of driving those things. And Oliver mentioned about where to put your money into different technologies. It, they seem to change by the day. One of the areas that I think that will grow and is growing is the immersive technologies, the mixed reality technologies that we talked about, because it kind of addresses a lot of areas that we want to see improvements in. It addresses the collaboration element, it addresses the new ways of working, it addresses the distance factor, not being able to go and travel to places. It addresses the safety factor, because you can work in safer environments. So there's a lot of great things going on with immersive technologies, and Graham and I had a call with the UK Manufacturing Technology Centre guys, and they're seeing a lot of work out there with different manufacturers, and they're saying, I think the quote was David Varela, I think, and he was the head of innovation at the Manufacturing Technology Centre, saying things like, well, there's technologies now that 2 years ago were in science fiction movies that are now making a tangible difference. So things like immersive technologies, I wouldn't be scared of, because they are making a real difference to resolve some of these skilling issues, collaboration issues, production issues that we all want to see manufacturers succeed in.
I think it's important as well to give people an opportunity who might not necessarily have the skills that we're looking for, taking on apprentices so that we can upskill them and mold them into, what the industry needs effectively. I think that's really important as well. Give people the opportunity who, might not necessarily have what you're looking for initially.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right on that, Natalie. I think that's one of the key things. I think really from us, people, I hear this a lot, where sort of say, oh, what should I go and learn, what skill set. I think if you've got the right initiative, I think if you've got a good attitude, great attitude, and are willing to learn, 99% you're there. I'm a firm believer you can learn anything. And so the people that have really changed our business, or I see, they just go get stuff done, and they don't have barriers saying, oh, well, I can't learn that, I don't know anything about it. I mean, we've had guys who were running, sort of doing painting, and then the next thing they're now running some software on one of our CNC machines. I mean, we trained them up, but they just got the attitude. They thought they just come there and say, I want to learn that, please can you teach me, Oliver? It's like, yeah, too right, And I think Natalie's absolutely spot on. Sometimes you sort of say, well, no, I've got to check your CV and it says this. Sorry, we can't actually interview you. Sorry, but rubbish. And I think that's what we need. I think just inspire people to do that. Saying, yeah, right, okay, who's up for this? And I think there's some, the world is changing. I mean, it will not go back to how it was. That's changed forever. Whatever the thing is. So we all got to change. We all got to adapt. And it's just interesting. Hear all the stories here. Everybody's on here is just taking it with a positive approach, as opposed to stick your head in the ground and wish for the day it all goes back to normal. It never will.
No, not now. No, we've from our experience, we've got a couple of youngsters in a couple of coders, and they've really had to learn parts about software and how software integrates within a plant. But not only that, how it integrates with the finance department, how it integrates with the engineering department, with the production department. And these young kids, what one of them today is in a plant talking to the engineering manager of that plant. He's 21 years old. But my confidence is that he's got more skill in that area than what I have. So I've got total trust that he'll give a better answer than I would today. I would have brought an answer probably away, discussed it, and gone back. Whereas he can do it straight away. But we got to have trust in these people, and we got to allow these people to have a go as well. And unless we let them have a go, they're never going to get that experience.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm just conscious of questions of desire or motivation. Oh, sorry. Sorry, a bit of a delay there. I think we had, didn't we? So yeah, I think. Do we think that one of the questions that has come through? Actually, if I pick up the one about the courses for the MADE program and the courses that we offer, rather than go into lots of details now, just to let you know, yes, it is fully funded. We have a stand actually in the exhibition area, and the team are available to take any questions. So if I can signpost you there, that would be great. So we've talked about the fact that one of the strengths and one of the things that you found got you through this is constantly adapting to this. And one of the questions that has come through is, do you think that the manufacturing sector is unique in this area in responding to COVID? Anybody got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we not just within Wales, I guess, all over the place, we do stick together because we can only do so much alone, but by doing it together, we can achieve so much more. Nothing is ever the product of one mind, I guess, is it? By having an idea, it allows others to contribute and make a powerful collaboration. And by working together, we can all kind of get through this together.
Definitely.
I think the manufacturing sector especially is just used to change. It's used to new products. It's used to being more productive and changing things within the process. So there's been some huge challenges for everyone, from large companies to small companies. And I really do believe the manufacturing sector will always find a way.
Thank you, Lynn. Just finally, because I'm conscious of time, I'd really like to end really on what happens next. And I think, we touched on it earlier, but I think, obviously, we know you guys and we work with you guys and hope we continue to do so for a long time. But, universities are not always traditionally looked at as a resource for companies. And it makes me wonder what other kind of support perhaps that you think that you will need going forward now and sort of coming out of the other side of this, that we as a university or as a program or other stakeholders, organizations might be able to offer you. If you've got any thoughts on that to share with us, that would be great. Who should I go to? Alison?
Yeah, one of the things that I think a lot of us find is that we're bombarded with proposals of what's on offer from various sources. And I think that the clearer that can be, the more you can manage to get it out there so that people can appreciate what great things you've got on offer. It's really difficult when we're so up against it to have the time to wade through and understand and digest what's on offer. So I think there is a grey area out there still. I think a lot of people are not aware of what exists and the benefits of it. And I know that's really tricky to get it out there, but that would really help tremendously. And also, I think, prior to their higher education, there is a gap there in terms of the young people coming out of schools and the kind of approach that they've got to manufacturing, that they see it as perhaps a kind of old-fashioned, unattractive option. And it's trying to recreate that really and rejuvenate that sector, and we're certainly doing a lot of work on that at the moment. And I think that people have to appreciate also it's not just about the shop floor. In manufacturing there's so many options, from marketing and sales and strategy and everything, the whole thing to keep it going, and there's lots of opportunities for people to move within departments. And like Oliver says, it all boils down to the attitude and the approach and that positivity and that kind of can-do, resilient kind of approach, because with that, there are so many opportunities. And I think that the university can help us tremendously with that, and the colleges for sure.
Anybody else want to come in on that for future support?
Yeah, just from I guess from an Avanade perspective, obviously we're looking for the new solutions and we're looking for the new generation of programmers, but as Alison says, a wider group than that, you know, with that industry experience, so what we'd like from the university is that kind of route to increase the number of, if like, STEM graduates, but also people that were attracted in the benefits of technology and attracted in manufacturing as a sector to grow into. And then from a technology perspective, go back to Oliver's point about which technology to use, what we're very keen on, and linking obviously with Microsoft, is providing innovative solutions for the challenges out there for manufacturers. So what we're looking from a university is more the applied innovation, making sure that what we're developing is with industry and the university, that are for solutions that address practical challenges with real business outcomes. They're not just harebrained schemes that are, you know, almost vanity projects or ad hoc pilot initiatives that never really go anywhere. We really want to make sure that we're delivering stuff for the manufacturers, and the manufacturers are on the call today.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, actually. I think it's something that Graham and I have kind of advocated for a long time, in that it starts with you and what your challenges are and what solutions you need, and it's kind of our job to pull those resources and skills and knowledge and equipment together to help you do that. It's very, very much a two-way street in that sense. I don't know if you want to further add to that, Graham.
Yeah, we always say, don't we? The question we always start with is what's your biggest issue? What's your biggest problem? What's the biggest thing that we can help with that will move things forward? Irrespective of how we do that, which program does it? There's a plethora of programs out there. It's absolutely, yeah. There's a tremendous amount of support. We do get bogged down into, academics do get bogged down sometimes in acronyms and different funding mechanisms. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, that part of it. The issue is, what's the biggest challenge today and how can we help? That for me is our biggest question, most important question. And I always think we've got two ears and one mouth, and we need to use them in that ratio as well to understand what industry actually needs, both in terms of those sort of projects, those research projects, but also in curriculum development as well. And for me, having industry support, the whole purpose we do these programs like the MADE, for example, the input we get from industry for our curriculums in the future is absolutely fantastic. And that's what will set us apart. And hopefully that means then that our graduates coming out of our programs have all got employability written all over them. Picking up something Oliver said about resilience. I've seen students grow when they come in the first year, when they're 18, 19, coming out at 21, you see their resilience absolutely grow through that time. And that's a real privilege to be able to see and be part of. And I'm really excited. The future of manufacturing, I think, with these new technologies, suddenly we've got a real affinity with the world that some of these youngsters are coming from. Virtual reality, augmented reality, this is their worlds. And I think suddenly that this is a really attractive proposition now for those youngsters to come into. But it's making it as wide as possible to get that rich, diverse group of people coming into manufacturing and making it better for everyone.
I'm really conscious of time, so before I draw it to a close, there's a question come in from Paul, thank you, asking about what advice we would give in terms of gaining access to the latest future tech. I think, you know, all of us all work together, you know, we talk, we liaise, we do projects together. I think, Paul, if you're happy to visit the stand later, we can pick that conversation up with you. But yeah, just have a conversation with us, tell us what you need. If there's something that we've got or we can access through introductions, then we'd be more than happy to facilitate and support that.
Just on that, Lisa, just to add to that very quickly, which I think is important, you know, is getting companies to establish a relationship with the likes of MADE. They don't have to have something immediate. So, you know, like with us, you know, we've been talking for been a best part of 18 months before we even did anything. But the fact, you know, when an opportunity arose, I mean, I remember just thinking, right, I'll drop a line to Lisa. So I think that's what you do very well, is getting those relationships. And then I think, you know, you just did a follow-up every few months and that type of thing. And I think encouraging SMEs or manufacturing businesses just to connect and then build that little relationship up, and then at the right time, you know, push the button.
No, it's really important. Thank you. I mean, that's what we're about. We want a relationship with you. We don't want to sell you anything or force anything on you. We just want to have a conversation and understand how we can help. And once we understand that, then we can kind of drip feed things to you that we think might be helpful, rather than going back to Alison's point, bombarding you with just lots of information that you're far too busy to digest. So no, thanks for that. It's really, really important. Can I thank everybody for this morning? It's been really interesting. I've really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you all inputting. Like I said, the stand is there, and the team, the MADE team are on standby if anybody wants to visit there and have a chat with us. But thank you again. Really, really appreciate it, and I'll speak to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Bye,
you.
Lisa.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Emerging Tech Fest. Join us again on our virtual live sessions or watch us on playback anytime, anywhere.